this is Carrie. I'm going to show us some of the, kind of walk us through some of the basic poses of yoga. Before I do that, I just want to make sure that I explain that yoga is a lifestyle, and it's a thousands and thousands of year old lifestyle that started in India. And this is a very, very short explanation to thousands of years of learning and passing down of information. But yoga is a lifestyle that consists of 8 limbs that we try to live by. So of the 8 limbs of yoga, what you see for the most part in classes of the postures and the exercise part is called asana. So asana is only one limb of 8 limbs of yoga, and it's the third one, so it's not the number one, the most important. The first 2 are called yamas and niyamas, and they're really kind of the rules and guidelines that we try to live by as yogis. And again, in a very short way of saying it, the yamas and niyamas are essentially say, don't be an asshole. In all of life, just don't be an asshole. They're actually, you can Google it, yamas, Y-A-M-A-S, niyamas, N-I-Y-A-M-A-S, to see what those are, because there's kind of sub branches of each one. But then after yamas, niyamas, asana, then you have your breathing, pranayama, so your breathing techniques and exercises. And then it goes into the more esoteric limbs, meaning more towards meditation, focus, pratyahara, which is to release all of your senses, where you just kind of like those deprivation tanks that you go in and float, and you kind of, there's no light, there's nothing, there's no sound, you don't even feel your physical body. That's kind of mimicking pratyahara. Sometimes it happens if you have a really good shavasana. And then the very last one is, is your kind of full-on bliss. So what you mainly see is the asana part, sometimes breathing, sometimes meditation, and so on. So I just want to be clear in that. So let's talk through some of the kind of basic asanas that you see or hear about in class. And personally, I don't use Sanskrit a lot because it's, number one, I'm a white person with a really bad way of pronouncing words, and I don't want to be offensive. Number 2, it's not relatable. Those of you who are newer to yoga, maybe not even newer to yoga, the Sanskrit terms can be intimidating. So I try not to use them too often. So I'm not even going to really use them. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw them in just so you know. So some of the basic asanas, postures, you'll see. I'll start standing. So standing mountain pose. You might hear it in Sanskrit as Tadasana. Shoulder blades are back. And sometimes we sit, whether we're doing our hair and we're kind of like sloppy. Tadasana is the exact opposite. You have force going into the mat through your feet, but you have energy lifting up through your arches of your feet, rolling your shoulder blades back, pulling your belly nice and taut, no sway backs here, a tiny tuck of the chin so you have a long neck, palms forward, and you're actually working hard here. My thighs are working, squeezing into the middle. My belly is nice and taut and working hard. My tailbone is kind of tipped in to lengthen through my lower back. My face is nice and soft. There's softness and hardness in every single thing we do and every single asana we do. So this is mountain pose. Mountain pose, you might have your arms up here. You might have your hands in front of you, dumping in. So you have energy through your feet, lifting up through the arches of your feet, pressing through your toes and your heels. Belly is pulled in like you're trying to suction it away from your thighs. That way your hip crease can lift up a little bit higher. It's okay to keep your knees as bent as you need to. And light up through the back of your legs. Let your head hang heavy. Next one we're going to talk about is a halfway lift. Sometimes you hear it as monkey pose. Sometimes you hear it as a flat back. Sometimes you just hear gaze up. This is your halfway lift. You can have hands on blocks. You can have fingertips to floor. You don't have to have them anywhere. But the difference between forward fold, you can see where my head and neck are nice and released. My legs are working. You can't see it. They're working. Between halfway lift is my legs work even harder, lengthen from my hip points up to my shoulders like a plank from here up. Scrape the shoulder blades down your back. You're working through the whole thing. A lot of times we see people like this. Notice if you do that. Maybe take a picture of yourself. Maybe look in a mirror because maybe you think you're having a flat back, because that's that awareness of your body that we're trying to build. And it's okay if you don't have that yet. You can build it. Scrape shoulder blades down your back. Look forward. Engage through your hamstrings. I don't like to press into my shins too much because I don't want to lean into it and take out the work, having to work through my obliques. And then back to forward fold. So to put that all together, from forward fold, inhale, halfway lift, flatten your back. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to go all the way up to mountain pose. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands down, mountain pose. Shoulder blades down. Inhale up. Exhale, soften your knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Good. Usually where you see a lot of is a down dog. So stepping into a down dog. A down dog in your body looks like a letter V, with your hip points being the high point. But it's a little deceptive. So a down dog is actually an inversion because your head is higher than your heart. Your head is closer to the floor than your heart is. Wait, I said that upside down. Your heart is higher than your head. So our hands tend to become our feet here, and our feet aren't as important as our hands. Our legs are not as important as our spine. So it doesn't matter how straight your legs are. Keep them bent because it's more important to find a long spine. And even though it's a V shape, from your fingertips all the way up to your hip should be the longer portion of the V, or your spine from the crown of your head up to your tailbone. The shorter end of the V is your legs. If you happen to just be super naturally flexible and you can place your heels to the floor, that's okay too, but don't do it just for the sake of doing it and feeling so much in your legs that you can't focus on your front body. So from down dog, you want to press your hands down into the floor and forward. Not just down, but down and forward to send your hip creases up. And then notice I'm going to turn this way just to practice. If I make my elbows wide, it's a little bit harder. So now you're going to flip and turn these eye of your elbow almost forward, triceps out and down. So you're really engaging the muscles that surround your rib cage all the way around your armpit muscles. So here's my elbows out wide. Now I'm going to flip my elbow eyes forward, turn my triceps out and down and around. So I'm super engaged through my upper back and using a ton of muscle strength. If you're feeling it more in your shoulders and your wrists, you got to engage even more. Pull your belly in. This is your down dog. Come on down. Shake out your wrist. It can be a lot on your wrist. So anything we do in life takes practice. Anything we do in life, you have to build either like your nervous system to work around it. In asana, a lot of times it's our muscle strength. So when your hands and wrists start to get tired, we're building strength throughout our forearms, hands, and so on. And over time, it won't hurt as much. Down dog is here. And then a lot of times we come into our plank pose. Plank pose is a flat, your spine, your body is trying to make a true plank. like a wooden plank. So you have energy going out your heels, out, but energy going out your heart forward, and then squeezing your butt, squeezing your thighs, pressing into your hands, a tiny bit of an upper back movement versus sometimes our shoulder blades like to wing out because we don't have the strength to keep pressing and lifting. And if that's the case, bring your knees to the floor, feet to the floor, and still find that straight line from your knees up to your shoulders. Belly pulls in like you're hollowing it out. Press through your upper back. And this might be a lot of work for you, and that's great. This is where we start. Over time, you might come to here. So that's your plank. Let's talk about low lunge, Anjaneyasana. So from down dog, a lot of times we'll say step your right foot through. It's okay if you can't step in one step. You can hold on to your ankle and help step forward. So low lunge or Anjaneyasana, left knee comes to the floor. And then we rise up. Now again, just like in everything we've been doing, you can just kind of let your joints take over, or, which isn't healthy for our joints, because we want to strengthen the muscles around the joints to keep our joints nice and healthy. So we can do this for as long as possible, keep our body nice and healthy, keep our spine nice and healthy. So in your low lunge, maybe you're up here with a straight leg and you're feeling a lot here. That's perfectly fine too. If you have a little bit more flexibility where you can lunge and open up, get heavier through your left front hip, that's okay too. Wherever you are, you're going to work your legs. Notice, maybe you don't even notice whether muscles are engaged or not. Take your hands at your hips, and then to try to engage your muscles, if you're not sure, squeeze and pull your front heel and back knee. They're not going to actually move, but you're trying to drag them to each other. And then you might feel a little bit of lighting up through your muscles. So much like you're feeling buoyant, like you're floating and bouncing in water versus dead weight. It's a lot of work. Pressing right knee to the right, hugging right hip in. This is your low lunge, maybe called Anjaneyasana. High lunge, same thing, but your back knee is lifted. So to get there, bring your hands down, tuck your back toes, lift your left knee or back knee. Make sure your feet are hip width apart. Notice when I say that, my feet are hip width apart versus like on a balance beam where they're directly one in front of the other. That's not great for your balance, so make sure your feet are hip width apart. Once you're here, engage again like you're trying to pull and drag your front heel and back toes towards each other to find a lift. You might need a wall to hold some balance. If not, maybe you have your hands on your hips, maybe arms up here. Engage and spark up through your fingertips. Pull the belly in, squeeze and engage your whole body. Again, like you're buoyant. Shoulder blades down your back. There's a Tadasana or a mountain pose in every single pose. So while in this high lunge, where can you feel that original standing position? That's here. And that belly is nice and taut, long and lengthened through the back. So a little tip of your tailbone. Shoulder blades down your back, hips facing forward. You can go as heavy bending through your right knee as you want or need. Good. Let's come back. Maybe try it through the other side. Let's talk through a couple warrior poses. All right. So the difference between that high lunge, maybe called crescent lunge that we were just doing, this here, high lunge or crescent lunge, and warrior one is the back foot. In warrior one, your back foot flips down flat. Nothing else changes from your crescent or high lunge. Personally, I'm not a fan of warrior one. It's taught a lot. If you have any issues of low back impingement, maybe SI joint issues, maybe knee issues, I highly suggest staying away from Warrior One. This is pinching in through your low back, and the way it's twisting through your knees and your hips to try to face forward may cause you discomfort, maybe injury over time. But it's your choice, it's your body. This is your Warrior One. Again, the difference between crescent lunge or high lunge, my back heel is lifted. I'm in the big ball mount of my back toes. Warrior One, spinning your back foot down, nothing else changes. Still squeezing hips into the midline. If your hips don't completely face front, that's okay. It's the feeling of them trying to face front. That's your Warrior One. Now, Warrior Two, we face the side. So Warrior One, we're facing front and the hips are facing front. In Warrior Two, our hips turn and open. This is now a hip opening through your front leg. Hip or shoulders stack over your hips. The feet may change from Warrior One depending on what feels comfortable in your knees and hips. So in Warrior Two, notice and play around with your feet. Your front toes face forward, your front knee faces forward. So your back foot either shifts to the left or right, depending on what feels right for you and where you can stack your hips. Your front heel may be in line with the back arch of your foot. It may be in line with the back heel of your foot. Your back foot may turn in slightly about 45 degrees. It may be parallel. It's totally fine, whatever works for your body. Once you get in and find what works for your body, now we work that energy engagement, the muscle engagement, the building of strength through this holding pose, this static pose. Dynamic movement is when you're moving. Static is when you're just holding. So in this static pose, you have energy pressing down through the back of your leg, through the knife edge, pinky toe edge of your foot. At the same time, you're squeezing both thighs into the middle and then trying to feel light off your rib cage. So belly in, there's a mountain pose or a Tadasana in every pose, right? So your Tadasana is from your hips up, belly in, low back lengthening by a little slight tuck of your pelvis, and then your arms, fingertip to fingertip, spark out, but your shoulder blades squeeze towards each other. If you find your shoulders are up here, maybe you don't even notice it. Take a picture of yourself, look in a mirror, soften your shoulders away from your ears, find length in your neck, and then length through both sides of the body. If you look back and can see a whole lot of the side, because a lot of people tend to do this, you want to shift your back shoulder over, and then all you can really see is your back knee. If you can look forward and see just your front big toe, you're probably doing pretty good. This is your Warrior Two. Come on out. Whew. Let's do 2 more poses. So from Warrior Two, or you might hear it called I don't even know it. Virabhadrasana. See, I told you I'm not very good at Sanskrit. I never use it. From Warrior Two, we'll just show both triangle and side angle. So in both of those, nothing changes in your feet. What might change is the width of how far apart your feet are. Typically from Warrior Two to side angle, it's not a big deal. So side angle, nothing changes from Warrior Two from the hips down. Nothing changes from Warrior Two to side angle from the hips down. What changes is the shift of your upper body. So shifting, now it's okay to see that side body, and finding length through both sides. It's side angle, so you want to find your angles, and then making sure your thigh is parallel to the floor, and you can have your elbow resting on your thigh. Sometimes you might want to block underneath your hand, but what happens, the difference here is there's a twist. So even though your legs are the same as Warrior Two and you're working them hard, now you're twisting, lifting your right, your side body off your bent thigh, twisting your top chest up to the ceiling, reaching your arms up, squeezing both thighs in, both hips in towards each other, belly in, lengthening through both sides of the body. Sometimes you might hear extended side angle. All that means is slicing your arm forward so your bicep is by your ear and you're making a straight line from your fingertips that I'm wiggling all the way down to the pinky toe edge of your knife, the knife blade of your pinky toe edge foot. Lengthening through both sides. This is extended side angle. This is side angle. Not much difference. All right. My legs are getting tired. Let's talk about triangle. So from warrior two, we can talk triangle. Not much changes in your feet, but your legs are both straight-ish. You can have a little bend in your front knee. Some people like to bump their back foot in. This is where I'm saying you might want to change how far apart your feet are or not. Some people like a wider triangle. There's no right or wrong. It's what works for your body. So from warrior two, straighten your front leg, squeeze thighs in, lengthen through both sides of the body, shift forward. So this top hip, it gets sassy and presses back. And then just like side angle, you're tipping over. Your hand can be on a block here or on your fingertips. And then work, squeezing your inner thighs towards each other. Both hips squeezing out and around and back towards the midline. And again, there's a twist, just like side angle. There's not much difference. Here's your side angle. Here's your triangle. The only difference is your front knee is bent or not. So there is a twist, twisting your top chest up towards the ceiling. That's your triangle pose. And that will be it for today. Namaste.